Rice here. And following my departure for, what was it, like 7 months the other day, I need to catch up. And catch up is what I will do. Because right now, I'm going to go back and review all the major releases I missed in my little break, I guess you could call it. And I'm pretty sure that's about 10 movies. So, because there's a lot of movies to cover, we're just going to get right into it now. First up, we've got a good one, Turning Red from Pixar. This feels like a return to form for the studio. I really like Luca, but Soul was a bit of a dip in quality, and I feel like that's their more popular, well-known release of the past, decade for 2020. And I feel like Turning Red, and we'll get onto Lightyear later, but Turning Red shows that they still got it, and they've still got the ability to tell personal stories through these wacky, wonderful scenarios. In this case, it's the Chinese mythology using the red panda. The animation's beautiful. I love that it has that realism Pixar's known for, which is just obviously on display here, but it's got such a cartoony, almost Ghibli style that just blends so well. I'm all for animation heading into its cartoony roots instead of striving for realism because, it's not real. The characters were fun, the humor was great, the music's amazing. Ludwig Göransson he's the GOAT. And yeah, I feel like this is one of my top animated films from this year. A definite curry rice, or 4 stars if you're not familiar with my rating system yet. Next up, we've got Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I'm quite a big Sonic fan. I haven't played all the games and have only been saying I'm a fan as of recent, so like the past few years, but I still consider myself a decently big fan. And this movie is one of the big reasons why. It's just so fun, energetic, a good action film for a movie that's catered to kids. It's just so delightful, without a better way to put it. It's just like, feel good. I came out the cinema smiling. I was smiling throughout. I was smiling before. Just the whole aura around the film. And then obviously the film itself, the humor's great. It's just like a funny film throughout. Knuckles is amazing. Knuckles ties the line between, yes, he's a funny kind of himbo antagonist, I guess you can say, but he's got a depth to him that's there from Idris Elba's amazing voice acting. So yeah, I haven't got a lot to say about it, but I just know that I enjoyed it and I would recommend it. A middle of the line rice bowl, 3 stars. Now we're on to one of our first MCU movies, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now I know this one's divisive, but I would say I liked it. It wasn't the best ever, but I also don't think it was the worst ever, which is what a lot of people seem to think it is. One of the worst ever is next up on the Marvel list. But until then, I'll say Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness had amazing visuals from Sam Raimi. He knocked it out of the park. It felt more in line with his horror works than Spider-Man films ever did. So I liked that it didn't just feel like, a return to his other superhero films, but almost like him showing that he can do superhero in a different way, but it's also still his style, and it was just great. I loved that. The characters weren't like the most interesting. Doctor Strange as a protagonist, he was alright. I would say Wanda stole the show as the villain. She was great. The action scene with the Illuminati and her just decimating them all, that was fun. The cameos weren't like amazing. It's weird to think that Patrick Stewart coming back as Professor X didn't floor me, probably because they showed it in the trailer. But so yeah, overall just a fun blockbuster action movie. America Chavez was fun. I liked Wong as always. Cool visuals. I like that music fight. I'll pause for a sec. That music fight was actually so cool, and I wish we just got more of that, more sorcery from Strange, and that'd be great. I think a Doctor Strange 3 directed by Sam Raimi and with Sam Raimi there from the start and not switch of directors can be amazing because he can get really wacky and weird, which he was already kind of edging in here, but imagine if he was part of the creative minds from the start. So I think a Doctor Strange 3 with Sam Raimi would be peak fiction. So yeah, it's almost like a little teaser for a better movie. That doesn't sound, that's kind of like a backhanded compliment. Okay, I'm rambling now, but yeah, fun movie. There's a right spot as well. Now, we've got one of the best movies I've ever seen, one of the best movies of the year. If you know anything about movies this year, you probably know what it's gonna be, so I'm just gonna get into it. Everything Everywhere All at Once was like a sleeper hit, a sleeper surprise. It just blew me away. I heard all the buzz around it and I was like, I'm sure it's gonna be good. And then it was good. It was great, it was amazing. The visuals alone could sell me on this movie because just all the multiverse shenanigans that Doctor Strange couldn't give me, I was given here with characters I just met. But it was so absurdist comedy, but I loved it. I've never really been like an absurdist comedy person, or maybe I am, because this just showed me that you can go as crazy as people with sausage fingers and you can still hit me with the emotions, because that brings me to the emotions of this movie. The story, the characters, the dynamics, the writing, it was just so good and so touching. It makes me cry every time I watch it. Just the fact that you can have these themes of like generational trauma, which is kind of similar to Turning Red, and then wind it in this unforeseeable, crazy, almost too fantastical story, but the human emotions still hit and the human emotions are still at the heart, and none of this can work without the humans and the heart and whatnot. It's just so cool. And it's funny. It's just too funny. This is probably the best cinema experience I've had in years, because I just couldn't stop laughing. And everyone around me couldn't stop laughing, because it's a funny movie. And I can talk about this all day, so I'm going to take a bit longer than usual. The action, I was not expecting the action to be this good. I knew it was going to be funny, probably. I knew it was supposed to be sad. But the action blew me away. One of the best action movies I've ever seen this year. That's the thing. It's one of the best comedies, one of the best action movies, one of the best dramas, one of the best, sci-fi movies that I've seen this year alone. And it's one movie. And it all balances it well. You would think that this would be an overstuffed, just, jumbled up mess maybe. But no, it somehow balances it and somehow juggles it all around and makes it into this amazing concoction, yeah. I'm gonna make a separate video on this, so I shouldn't talk about it for too long, but yeah. And the thing is, this is tied with another movie, which I'm gonna get onto later, for my favorite movie of the year, which shows that this has been a great year for cinema for one, but then also that this next movie later, it has to be great, right? Because basically, perfect movie. Rice Ceremony, 5 stars. And from one of the best major releases of 2022 to one of the worst. Thor: Love and Thunder is bad. It's bad. Everyone knows it's bad, but it's also sad. Because Taika Waititi is still, I'm going to say, a great director. Thor Ragnarok made me actually enjoy a Thor standalone movie and made me excited for his next movie, which is also why this is such a sad shame. But Hunt for the Wilder People, watched that for the first time this year, loved it, amazing. Also made me excited to see him bring more human emotions and this humor to Marvel, and the fact that he botched this movie so badly, I genuinely think he wasn't trying. I do think he didn't view this project as a film, like a real project of his, and he just wanted to get it out of the way to get his real, do one for them, do one for me, to get his real, whatever his next film is, passion project off the ground, to do another Jojo Rabbit. And that's sad, because Thor Ragnarok didn't feel like that. Thor Ragnarok felt like one of his true movies that he obviously had fun working on. And then this just felt like he just half-assed it. And it's sad. It's not funny. It's just not funny. There's a few jokes, but it just isn't funny. It's ugly. One of the ugliest blockbusters I've ever seen. The volume technology, I'm pretty sure they used the volume on this and not green screens. It doesn't look like they did. It looks like green screen still, because they didn't know how to use the volume technology like in, say, The Mandalorian. Mandalorian looks so good, and that's a Disney Plus show from 2019. And this 2022 Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, with probably a $150+ million budget, and it looks like the way it does. It looks like garbage, mush, generic sludge. And I don't want to sound pretentious, but I'm going to be pretentious because it just doesn't look like a movie. It looks like it was made in a factory. It looks like Taika Waititi didn't even touch it. There was some... be nice to it. I liked gore, except he was wasted because from what I'd heard from the comics and seen from panels, he was supposed to be just way more, and they didn't give us Gore God butchering, even though he is Gore the God Butcher. He did all his God butchering off screen, which doesn't make sense to me. And again, kind of proves to me that this it's like it's not even a real action movie. I don't know how to explain it. It's just sad. Jane's cancer plot was okay. It wasn't like terrible, but then also it wasn't very good. There were some sad bits, and then there was some bits where I was like, this could have been done better. Korg was just annoying. I don't like Korg. Korg was cool in Ragnarok. He was a funny guy. He was silly. He was a silly little guy. And now he's just annoying. Hate Korg. Wish he'd stayed dead when we thought he was dead. Okay, that's a bit much. Taika, I get it. You want to be in your movie. I think of self-inserting myself into my movie ideas, but don't do it like this, because you just annoy the audience, and it's like you're always there, like, hey guys, remember I'm making this movie. It's not good. I'm gonna make myself be the funny guy, and I'm also not funny. But remember, this is my movie. So yeah, Thor: Love and Thunder is to me the worst Phase 4, probably the worst Marvel movie of all time, and I have no desire to watch it ever again. No, okay, just not right now. So yeah, hopefully there's a good movie next, because that was a sheaf of rice, which is equivalent to 1 star, but I'm saying it's more like a 1.5, 1.5. I became a Predator fan this year, and it's because of Prey. I wanted to watch Prey, I wanted to support it, everything about the movie sounded great, the trailer looked fun, but I had never watched a Predator movie before. So I binged the whole series, and then came the Friday it came out, I watched it day 1, and it was amazing. The action was great, the characters were great, the visuals were amazing, the best looking Predator film by far. The kills were amazing. I'm a Dead Meat fan, so kills in my horror action movies are so important, especially the Predator series. The Predator was scary. Despite not being as technologically advanced as before in the series, he felt the scariest he has in the series, which is a testament to the way the action was done, the way he was built up as this force of power, of, force of nature. It was great. I love this movie. I recommend it to anyone, even if you haven't watched the Predator series, because I think even if I hadn't binged it, I would have loved this movie just as much. Maybe not just as much, but still loved it. It works great standalone, it works great as part of the series, and it's inspired so many concepts and ideas in every Predator fan's head of, what if you took this idea of placing the Predator in a different time period and went wild? Predators in ancient Japan were samurais. Predators, and this is my favorite, against pirates. I think that would be sick, because we haven't seen sea combat with the Predator, and I just think that would be cool. So yeah, Prey, great movie, and I think this is kickstarting the Predator resurgence. And it's great that I became a fan right as it did. Another curry rice. Now onto my other favorite of the year. My favorite horror of the year. My favorite Jordan Peele movie, Nope. Nope was spectacular. Nope exceeded my expectations. Nope was probably my most anticipated movie of the year, and it was more than I could have ever imagined. The tension in this movie is off the charts. I feel like this is Jordan Peele's scariest movie. I know Us is more overtly horror because it's a slasher movie, but I feel like this invokes more horror techniques, in my opinion. From the sound design that's made to just, deeply affect you and scare you, from the visuals like Gordy, Jean Jacket, all the people that get sucked up. It's just such a good horror thriller and a bit of an adventure movie. I would say the score is so strange because it's more like, you know, like an Indiana Jones adventure movie, but it works, and it's I think it's my favorite score of the year. I've listened to it so much. It's so good. The run, the song and the scene, best scene of the year. Amazing. The culmination of everything. Of the amazing plan sequence, which is just before this, of just every character, every moment, every struggle, every scare, every tense moment builds up to this, and it's amazing. On an IMAX screen especially. I saw this on the biggest screen in the UK. I know, big flex, whatever. And then I saw it again on another IMAX back home, and each time this scene, it just deeply affected me. It deeply made me feel like cinema is just the best thing ever, because that is what storytelling can do, is just leave you in awe of this spectacular thing on screen. And this, it's like nothing I'd ever seen. Invoked things I had seen, but it wasn't like anything I'd ever seen, and that was the best bit. Daniel Kaluuya, amazing. He felt nothing like he did in Get Out, and that shows that he's a great actor, one of the best of our generation. Keke Palmer, one of the funniest actresses, one of the best actresses right now as well. She was the comedic part, but also the heart of the movie, and to tie that together was so good. And she, if it was anyone else, I don't think it would have hit as well. She was so good. Their sibling relationship was so authentic, and it felt so real, and I loved it. Angel was great. He was also a bit of a comedic character. He was more comedic, I'd say, and just comedic, but he added just another element. The direction, I think Jordan Peele is hitting his prime, well, not his prime, but just hitting his stride as an auteur, and just showing that he is one of the GOATs in the making, and that he's 3 for 3 on amazing films. And that's great, because imagine 3 more films from now, because Get Out came out in 2016. That's just 6 years ago, which means 3 films in 6 years. Another 6 years, we're gonna have 3 more Jordan Peele films. That's amazing. That it's almost like the way that people love watching the MCU, but just from a director. And I know that is just how good directors work, but it's almost like we haven't had that in a while because of franchise filmmaking taking over. So it's great to see someone, you know, just come out in the past 6 years and show everyone we can still exist. Auteurs and directors that you're excited to watch their projects that aren't connected other by the fact that they directed them, and you're excited to see them. We can still exist, and they do exist. Because Nope is one of the best movies of the year. For sure, a rice ceremony. I wasn't gonna do a little review on Lightyear because I didn't watch it in the cinema when it came out. I watched it a few months later. But because I talked about Turning Red earlier, I just want to say that this is kind of just the bottom of the barrel for Pixar. It wasn't terrible. Visually, amazing. This shows the height of breathtaking realism and visuals in animation from Pixar and just, you know, the industry in general. So that's great. And the first act, I'd say, is really engaging. I love the whole thing of Buzz going through time and, you know, losing his years more and more, and that kind of montage, and that opening is fun. After that, it's really boring, kind of just generic, space adventure movie. And it's a shame, because if they'd leaned more into the fact that this is a movie from Andy's childhood from the 90s, they could have been doing something cool. But it feels like a 21st century action movie. It feels like a movie that would be released today, because it was released today. And it's almost like they just used that framing device of, this is a real movie that Andy watched in the Toy Story universe, and didn't actually remember when Toy Story 1 came out and when it was set, which is, 1995, I'm pretty sure. So why didn't it feel like a 90s movie? You could have done a 90s, really over-the-top, fun sci-fi movie, and instead you just gave us boring action movie with Chris Evans. Chris Evans was fun, actually. I liked his voice acting. Keke Palmer was good. Just another Keke Palmer performance that kind of lifts up a movie. So yeah, fun action movie, middle of the road, rice bowl. On to another big disappointment of the year for me. I became a Halloween fan last year, October 30th, the day before the name of the movie, Halloween Day. And I loved it. First one, great. And then over the year, I managed to watch Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills because I wanted to watch Halloween Ends when it came out. And I became so excited to watch it because I really liked all the Halloween movies I'd watched at that point. Halloween 2018, really good movie, I'd say. I feel like that's the height of this new trilogy. Halloween Kills, I know it's not as good, but the kills are great. Some of the character decisions are dumb, but overall, it's a fun movie. Halloween Ends I see the vision. I see what they were going for, but don't do it when the whole trilogy has been leading up to a Michael versus Laurie finale. You can't involve a new antagonistic character that's kind of reminiscent of Michael, and it's kind of like he's taking over as Michael, but he's not because shenanigans happen at the end. But throughout, you're just thinking, where's Michael? He hasn't been in this. It literally takes, I don't know, half an hour, 40 minutes for him to get in the movie. And it's sad because I was so ready to just see one more movie of Michael killing people for no reason because he's a crazy guy, and then fighting Laurie and seeing how it ends. You know, because it's called Halloween Ends. And the poster has Michael and Laurie back to back. The trailer has Michael and Laurie fighting. It doesn't have this new character in it. And if it does, it's hardly at all. I can't remember if he's in the trailer. I can't remember his name right now. And the thing is, he's an interesting character. And he would work if, say, you introduce him in Kills. Or this isn't the end to this trilogy of new movies that sets up just such a relationship between Michael and Laurie. It's so out of left field. It feels just like he was not in any plans. Because the thing is, Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills are so good as just they run into each other because they take place on the same night in like the story, which helps for it to, just transition nicely. But just everything feels like Infinity War Endgame situation where they filmed it back to back, which I don't think they did, but it feels like they did. And then this movie comes out and it's set, 5 years later? That might be a lie, but it's set years later, and it feels so stagnant and disconnected, and it's not scary. The kills are lame. There's a couple good ones, I think. The final one, I'm trying not to be too spoilery here. The final one is a good kill. But say the rest of the movie led up to that kill, it would have been amazing. It would have been satisfying. But alas, there's loads more Halloween movies for me to watch over the years, so I'm not too disappointed. So I've got more Halloween content that's apparently also good or bad or good or bad or good or bad. It's varied, and I love that. So yeah, I think this is gonna be a rice cake. In October, the hierarchy of the DC universe didn't change a bit with Black Adam. Okay, that's a bit mean. This movie's fun. I didn't hate this movie. It's just a fun action movie with generic but also fun characters, and that's all I really need. The music, I'd say the score is actually kind of cool. The score's cool. I liked it. It wasn't anything special though. It's just what you expect from a superhero movie. And now, I'm not going to go into it because this isn't what it's about, but now with the whole DCEU kind of dying and Black Adam not really leading anywhere, and Henry Cavill's tease at the end leading to nothing, it's a bit weird because now it's like a movie that sets up more movies that will never come to fruition. So it's almost like a movie that is pointless. But if you view art like that, then you're a loser. And I'll say it's not pointless because I could throw it on and have a fun time and then smile to myself and then forget everything that just happened until I watch it again, have a fun time, smile to myself, and forget everything that just happened. That's a good movie because it means you can keep coming back to it, and that's fun. It's not like Thor: Love and Thunder where I hate it and I don't want to watch it again. It's more just like, okay, basically. So yeah, not much to say. A perfectly fine rice bowl. Now, the last movie. A movie which I've been anticipating for years, that we'd all been anticipating for years, because the star of its predecessor sadly passed away. Chadwick Boseman, I'll say, is a legend. He'll forever be in our hearts and on our screens because his performances are so amazing, and we want to go back to them and we'll watch them again and again forever. And it's sad that he's gone, obviously, and I can imagine that Black Panther Wakanda Forever could have easily let that hold it back. But I personally believe that it didn't, and that this movie is one of the best MCU movies of all time and one of the best movies of the year. Definitely the best blockbuster action movie of the year. Because this movie ties the line between being a memorial piece, like, you know, a tribute piece, and a sad piece for that matter, but also a fun, enjoyable action movie with amazing spectacle and memorable moments. So for that reason, I love it. For that reason, I came out of the theatre in awe, and just I love the world building of Wakanda. I love the characters of Wakanda, including Shuri, Queen Ramonda, Okoye, Nakia. They're probably my favorites. This all-women black female cast is so powerful. It's so great. The acting is amazing. Angela Bassett and Letitia Wright were standouts in my opinion. And on the other hand, Tenoch Huerta as Namor was amazing. One of the best villains. Well, he's not really a villain. One of the best antagonists of the MCU, because he just has such ferocity and heart in his character. There's a balance, because without giving too much away, because it's a more recent film, he starts off kinda and almost softer, and you're like, oh, he's not too bad. But then stuff happens later on and you grow to hate him in a sense, but still love him because he's a great character and there's depth there. And everyone in this film has depth, and everyone in this film has heartache, and you can tell that the actors have the real heartache from Chadwick's loss, and they're channeling it into their characters and their loss and their struggles and everything. The action is amazing, a step up from the first movie in every sense. The cinematography is also a step up because it feels so immersive and just awe-inspiring, and just, you know, it was just cool. It's a cool movie, and it's a long movie, and I don't feel like it struggles with that. To me, that's one of its strengths. I like long movies, maybe that's just me, but I saw some complaints that could have been shorter, but I didn't mind its length. I like Riri. Riri was a standout for me, actually. I think the fact that people don't want to see her as a successor to Iron Man, which she's not, by the way. She's got her own title, which is Ironheart. So she's more of a legacy hero than a successor, but that's beside the point. She has the charisma and the snark that Tony has. Her and M'Baku were the standouts for the comedy, and I like that. They were funny. She was funny, and I'm genuinely now excited for her Ironheart show on Disney Plus, solely because of her and Dominique Thorne's great portrayal of her. So yeah, it's cool that they introduced a new character into the MCU, and to me it felt natural and fun, and I like the action scenes with her. Can't wait to see more. The music in this film is, I think, the best in the MCU. From the score to the soundtrack. The score alone, Ludwig, you've done it again. You are, like I said earlier with Turning Red, the GOAT. I don't know, I'm talking to him like he can hear me, but who cares? This score is so much, it brings so much from the first movie in the idea of, you know, using the authentic African music and mixing that with the usual orchestral superhero themes. But this adds on top of that and introduces the elements of almost techno Afrofuturism, which is a representation directly of Shuri's character and Wakanda as this Afrofuturist nation and the movies as a concept. And I love that. And then the soundtrack, and hot take here, I think is better than the first. And I mean that in the way that it's used in the film. In the first film, the soundtrack is hardly used, really. There's the scene in the club where you hear Pray For Me. But other than that, and there's another scene with a car chase, and I can't remember what song it is right now. But apart from those two scenes, in the actual film, the soundtrack isn't really used to the best extent that it could be. And then of course you've got all the stars in the credits, but to me that doesn't really count because there's a credit song. In Wakanda Forever, the soundtrack is used throughout in the cool action scenes, in the background, in the montage scenes, and it's used so effectively and more memorably. And there's been discussion I've seen online of the actual songs in the movie and not just the songs outside of the movie. There's all good and well having a soundtrack that is good, but if you don't use it in the film and it's not actually part of the film experience, then to me that's not a good soundtrack. It's just a good album that happens to be related to the movie. So yeah. And I also liked how they had now a split between African artists and then Southern American artists, and that was all to do with the Wakanda versus Talokan conflict, which again shows the blend of this soundtrack and the actual narrative, which is great. I love it. Good soundtrack, underrated because people just saw that there weren't as many well-known artists and wrote it off and said, we need Kendrick back. But Kendrick was on the first album. I'm going into a bit of a rant. Actually, I'm going to save it. I want to make a video on why the two soundtracks are so different and why they both work for the movies they're about and whatnot. So I'm going to save what I was going to say for another video. So yeah, this is turning into a bit of a ramble. I'm going to say that Wakanda Forever is a curry rice, edging onto rice ceremony. Overall, a great movie. Ryan Coogler keeps proving his worth as a young filmmaker, hissing out of the park every time. Rest in power, Chadwick Boseman. So yeah, that's it really. I'm glad I got to review all these films that I missed during my time away. And I hope you enjoyed. If you got to the end of this half an hour long video, then thank you very much. I appreciate you. And I hope you will like the video, because unless you hate watching, then I think you would like the video, seeing as you've watched it this far. And drop a comment if you've watched this far, actually. I want to see who the real ones are. And yeah, I'll catch you next time, and have a rice day.